Crazy things are going on in the insurance world. The headlines are all over the board. So I want to remind you, if you're getting nervous because a lot of legislation has been proposed, remember, over 90% of all legislation that is proposed never becomes law. It's grandstanding, it's publicity, it's not going to become law. There's a lot of crazy laws out there impacting Medicare and Medicare Advantage right now. Something could land, but remember, a majority of it is just to get people stirred up. So rather than going into some of the more salacious headlines, I wanted to talk about COBRA. COBRA, you're like, I already know COBRA. I don't need to learn about COBRA. Okay, I asked 3 different insurance agents about COBRA, and they all answered wrong. So assuming that little sample is a good sample, I'm going to talk to you about COBRA because you probably don't know the ins and outs of COBRA very well either. You probably don't want to. What I found, especially with agents that concentrate their business in Medicare, is their brain is full. Their brain is saturated. And people are constantly trying to teach them more and more stuff. And they're like, I'm struggling to stay on top of my main focus here. But COBRA's not your main focus, but your clients are coming to you from COBRA and they're asking you questions. They're saying, I'm getting ready to quit my job. I am 64. Can I get Medicare early? No, you can't get Medicare early. Should I take COBRA? Now, this is where you need to be able to do an evaluation with their COBRA health plan versus Affordable Care Act, if you sell Affordable Care Act, which is kind of out the window with these huge rate increases that are coming. Not going to go into short-term medical. I'll do other videos on that because that is in the news and that is changing. But you're going to be looking at COBRA versus Affordable Care Act options versus maybe short-term medical because they're 64. They got 1 year to bridge up to Medicare. COBRA, if you're leaving your employer has 20 or more employees, they have to give you a continuation of your health plan. It is the exact same benefits that you had while you were employed. They can charge you the full cost. If your company has 20 or more employees, they have to pay at least 50% of the cost of your health plan. They don't have to pay any of the cost of health for your spouse or your dependent children. So if I quit my job voluntarily, I'm going to Medicare. That's easy. I'm going to Medicare. See ya. My wife or my husband is only 64. What do? They have these 3 options. How long can they stay on COBRA? So if I'm leaving the company, I'm retired, I'm quitting, they fired me, then I or my spouse or my dependent children would have 18 months of COBRA. Okay. So what happens if me and my spouse are separated? We're legally separated, I lost my job and my spouse is like, what? I was with you because you were rich. So now that you're fired, I'm divorcing you. So if my spouse divorces me and kicks me when I'm down, he can get COBRA for 36 months. Okay. Let's say I am going on to Medicare in this scenario. The reason that I'm losing my group health insurance is because of Medicare. My spouse can also get COBRA for 36 months. But if I just quit my job and I am 60, my COBRA lasts for 18 months. My spouse, who doesn't leave me, who doesn't separate from me or divorce me, her COBRA also is 18 months. Let's say I quit my job and I have a disabled child. Or let's say I become disabled. I quit my job and then I become disabled within 60 days of taking COBRA, or I was already disabled. Now I get an 11-month extension. So COBRA can last 29 months. So we're dealing with 18 months for the majority of our clients, 36 months in the event of death, divorce, 29 months in the event of disability. So we got 3 different numbers. A lot of people thought it was just 18 months. I had a client this year. She called me. She said, my husband just dropped dead of a heart attack. What are my options? I'm 64 and a half. So I explained her options. I said, well, you can stay on COBRA for 36 months. She's like, good, that's what I'll do because I have great insurance and it's cheap. When you go on COBRA, you have to pay 100% of the cost. They can actually charge you a 2% administrative fee. So it's very expensive. Is it better than the Affordable Care Act? Well, you got to do a cost-benefit analysis. And you know, with the prices skyrocketing on the Affordable Care Act for 2026, it's going to be tough. COBRA's expensive. Affordable Care Act's expensive. What could be the swaying decision? Deductible. Or maybe it's just one medication that you can get that medication much more economically on COBRA versus the Affordable Care Act. So you're going to have to dig deep into this. And as much as you don't really want to, you want to take them from Medicare on, people are calling you that are pre-65 all the time. Or your client is 65, but he's like, hey, how are you going to help me with my younger wife and my younger kids? So COBRA is an exciting topic to talk about. One thing I want to be sure to get in here into this conversation, I don't know if I should have interjected it earlier, is that COBRA is secondary to Medicare. And I know a lot of insurance agents make this mistake. How do I know? Because I've been training insurance agents for 30 years. I've traveled all over the country. I might have trained you personally. And I say, raise your hand and people invariably don't understand that COBRA, if you're eligible for Medicare, is secondary. And they're not warning their client. So their client is coming into them saying, okay, I just got fired, but I get COBRA for 18 months and I'm already undergoing chemo. So I don't want to rock the boat in the middle of my treatment. And I respect that sentiment. So I'm just going to stay on my COBRA. It's expensive, but I'm going to stay there. When it runs out in 18 months, even though I just turned 65, in 18 months, then I need you to help me with Medicare. And you as an agent need to step up immediately and say, no. When you turn 65, when you're eligible for Medicare, COBRA becomes secondary to Medicare. So many people only pay for COBRA because COBRA is expensive on its own. So why would they pay for COBRA and Medicare Part B? Another $200 a month. Because COBRA is secondary. So when you go to continue those chemo treatments, you're going to find out that a large percentage of it that Medicare would have covered, you don't have Medicare. You made that mistake. You only have COBRA, so you're out of pocket for that 80% of your chemo, and 20% is covered by your COBRA. So if you're eligible for Medicare, and you want to keep COBRA, which, like I said, depending on where you are in your treatment, you might want to take both. It might make sense financially and just for ease of treatment to take both. COBRA's got to be secondary to Medicare. You got to take Medicare. In most cases, even sometimes if you're already undergoing treatment, it still makes sense to ditch COBRA at 65 and go to Medicare. Like I said, it's hard to make a generalization because every client has very different needs. And they're taking very different medications. And one medication could sway your whole recommendation from, hey, ditch COBRA, let's go to Medicare, to say, hey, this drug is the basis for the reason we want you to stay on your COBRA and take Medicare. And I know it's expensive, but, and then you go into this drug is excluded by most formularies and your income is too high to get patient assistance. And this drug is the sole reason we want to keep you over here on COBRA. So as much as we don't like to talk about COBRA, it's not sexy and fun like some of the other topics I talk a lot about on this channel. It comes up constantly. And I haven't even touched the subject of ESRD COBRA and ALS COBRA. So we'll go into that another time. Rebecca promises me that she will be back for the videos soon. She's been very busy traveling around the country, training agents, and I've heard a lot of you say in the comments that you miss her, that it's boring having just me. I agree. She will be back soon. Thanks for watching so much. Please subscribe to our channel. That's how you show love on YouTube. We would appreciate it. If you have questions about COBRA, which many people do, ask us in the comments below. We'll be right back to you. If you do not subscribe, that means you don't want to learn more. That's okay. But if you do want to learn more, please subscribe to our channel.